Hello Lions fans, and hello MCM Motor City Mania fans. My name is David T. Pike, and I'm the host of this channel. Now, to most people that have watched this show or watched my previous channel as well, this is going to come as a bit of a different setup, a different dynamic than what you guys are used to. And the reason for that is because I'm not trying to talk necessarily about the Lions themselves today. What I'm talking about today is my personal journey, my struggles, if you will, being a Lions podcaster. Or rather, just the struggles in general of just being a podcaster in and of itself. Now, why do we find ourselves here? The reason we find ourselves here is because I've been podcasting now for going on about 3.5 years. And I'm going to say this, for the majority of the time I've done it, I've absolutely enjoyed it. I've found a great freedom in being able to express my viewpoints about a football team that I absolutely love in the Detroit Lions. It has been an uplifting sense to be able to talk and communicate with people that are of like-minded opinions, and even those that are not of like-minded opinions. However, though, despite that, it has also been, in one sense, one of the most stressful and one of the most tough things to also deal with. Because I will say this right now. As a podcaster, I try my best to be authentic about my viewpoints and about what I believe when I'm talking about the Lions. However, though, that does not always mean that I am authentic about myself. And the reason I say that is because the reason I'm having this conversation is because for me, I know for some people, I've heard comments, I've seen comments on my shows in the past where people are like, hey, is everything all right? You don't seem to have the same energy. Is everything good? And I've also made community posts where I was like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm battling with this, I'm battling with that, specifically depression and anxiety. And for me, my job as a podcaster, first and foremost, is to give you guys quality content. That's what you guys come to my channel, you watch my videos for. But at the same time, it's to be authentic. It's to be 100% with y'all. Or as 100% as I possibly can be. So for here, this is my full disclosure episode. This is my episode where I'm going to let you guys know what's been going on with my channel, what's been going on with me, and why I have been the way I've been the last couple of months, because this has been something that's been going on for a while. Now, as everybody knows, I've put out 2 community posts where people have been wondering, hey, what's exactly going on with David? Why does it sound like there's something going on? Well, the reason why is because there is something going on. First and foremost, we have to take a look at the situation for where it is from where I'm sitting. I am a very, very emotional individual. I definitely have things that will get me riled up emotionally, whether it's in a positive or a negative way. But one of the greatest things in my life that I cherish now more than ever in my life is my family. I love my family to death, and there is nothing I wouldn't do for them if I could. Now, why do I say that? The reason I say that is because currently, as everybody knows, I'm in the military, and I'm going to say this right now. The military is one of the most rewarding jobs on the planet, in my opinion, and it's a rewarding job in the United States. You get to meet a lot of different people. You get to learn a lot of important lessons that are very applicable in life. But just because it's rewarding does not necessarily mean that it's easy. It is very stressful, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. And for me, right now, the military is stressful in all 3 of those categories. But the way it's stressful for this particular topic about my family is because I'm currently stationed at Fort Drum, New York. However, though, My family is in multiple areas. My daughter is down in Texas, living her life. She's old enough, she's out on her own, and she's there. I check in with her from time to time, see how she's going, but you know as it is, once they get to a certain point, you want them to live their life and just check in on them to make sure they're safe. And I hope and pray every day that she is. Now, as for my wife and my son, they're in Michigan right now. And the reason why is because we have a lot of family in Michigan. Michigan is my home state. It's where I'm from, as all of you already know. But whenever we've tried to go back and visit family for the holidays and everything else, it kind of gets expensive, it gets stressful. Obviously, you know holidays are already stressful as it is. So we were trying to have a base of operations, so to speak, so that way we had some place to come to, so that way we weren't spending a whole lot of money on hotel visits and everything else. So my wife and my son, they've been out there. And this has been going on since late January, early February. We're now in the middle of April going into May. Since that time, I have only seen my family for a total of about, a couple of days. Almost a week maybe. And the next time I'm going to see them again is at the end of May. So between the end of January, beginning of February to the end of May, I will have seen my family for maybe a total of a week and a half to 2 weeks. For anybody that has been away from their family, you already know exactly where I'm going with this. It really tears you apart because you want to be with your family. Anybody that loves their family, anybody that wants to be with their family, it is one of the greatest pains in the world to be separated from them because that's your support system. That is what gets you going. That's what keeps you going when everything else is falling down around you. And for me personally, they are my greatest support system. They're my greatest support network. And not having them here, it really drains me. It drains me emotionally. It drains me spiritually. It drains me physically and mentally. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just telling you guys the truth. It really wears on me. My wife, she has to do what she has to do. I love her. And I support everything she's doing. But it doesn't mean I don't miss her. It doesn't mean I don't want to be with her or have her with me. But unfortunately, as we all know in this life, sometimes you got to do things that don't necessarily always go with what you want. Now, there's that part, which again, that drives up the depression and it drives up the anxiety, which I'm currently on medication for, which I'm currently seeking help for. That's one thing I've been dealing with. The other thing I've been dealing with is a problem that has been stemming for a very, very long time, and it's outside of the military. The other problem I have is I have very, very, very poor self-image. I have very, very poor self-esteem, which is funny to consider the fact that as a podcaster, I put myself out on the world stage every time I get in front of the camera and release something. So you'd think that'd be a little bit, ridiculously backwards for someone that has very poor self-image. But I put that aside because I love talking about the Lions and I love talking with you guys a lot more than the problems I have with my own self-image. And this is a problem that has been stemming all the way back since I was in college and probably even into high school. But it really took off in college in my sophomore year. I had a emotional breakup with an ex at the time. Not going to name names, not going to get into any of all that nonsense. But because of that situation, I got to a point where when I went to get my physical to go back to college, I had ballooned up to 234 pounds, which was not very common for me after coming out of high school. I was obviously, as you know, playing football, basketball, baseball. So for me, that was not something that was good. When I went to college, I somehow equated in my brain that the reason why I was the way I was emotionally was because of how I looked physically. So I made it my mission to lose weight, to change myself physically. I went to college in the fall semester weighing 234 pounds. When I came back for Christmas break, 2.5 months, 3 months later, I had gone to 166 pounds. And I did that by barely eating anything. I was on diet pills, diuretics, I was on laxatives, I was doing anything and everything that was possibly wrong to get myself to whatever image I thought I was. I was exercising all the time, wearing sauna suits. I was just, not in a good place mentally. Then, like I said, I met my wife and a lot of things changed for me. I'll say this right now with all sincerity. That woman is my rock. She is everything to me. Because that woman has believed in me when nobody else would. That woman has stood by me when things have been at their absolute worst. When she shouldn't have, or it would have been a lot easier for her not to. I love that woman to death. But that doesn't mean that I haven't had my own demons, and I'm still not fighting my own demons. Because some people that I know that have been in the military already know that one of the biggest problems being in the military is what is known as the height and weight standards. The military is one of the few jobs in the United States, at least that I can think of, that there is a requirement for height and weight that you have to meet. And you have to meet it 2 times a year. It's what they call a biannual height and weight. You usually do it after you take your PT tests. I've never had a problem passing PT tests. Never had that issue. But height and weight is a different story. I have always had problems with it. And every time I have a height and weight, my anxiety goes through the roof. There's times where I will go to bed and I can't sleep the whole night. And I just literally have issues with it. And it is something that I don't know if I'll ever get over it. Because like I say, I have very, very poor self-esteem. I have very poor self-image. And when the military says that you have to fit into this box, into this parameter, and you already have problems with your own image trying to then fit into that box, and you have a problem with failure, because I will say this right now, one of my biggest fears is the fear of failure. I have a problem with failing. I don't like to fail. I know it's a part of life, but for me, failure is something that drives me crazy. Now, having all said that, I want to give a personal shout out to some of the most important people in this whole process. The first person I want to give a shout out to, and a big thank you to, and a big I love you to, is my wife. Because she has been there with me as best she can, even though she's 600 some plus miles away. She's talked with me. She has tried to help me in any way she could. So there's that. Has not been easy. My parents are another one. They have been there to talk with me and with other people that I've had conversations with to try and help in that matter. And then obviously, I wanted to give a shout out to Derek of Lions Syndicate. Every time that I posted a community post or whatever, one of the first people that always reached out to me was Derek, wanting to know if I was okay, wanted to know how I was doing. Up until now, I haven't let him specifically know what I was dealing with on most fronts, but Derek was definitely there when I was having problems. Always gave a supportive voice and a helping hand. And then obviously for the fans that, would drop comments, let me know everything was all right. Hey, we still support you, man. We love your content. Don't change anything. You guys also, I give a big shout out to. You guys are great. That's why I say you guys are an awesome crowd, an awesome community. Now, to explain why the community posts. Specifically the second one. As I already told y'all, one of the things that I don't like is failing. Now, here's the thing. I do realize that with it being the off season, it's going to be a lot harder to get views because, most people don't really care right now. They're busy doing other things. So watching YouTube videos about the Lions when it's the middle of the NFL offseason, not necessarily a top priority. I get that. However, though, for me, one of the things that I am always trying to do, like I said, as a podcaster, is to give you guys the best quality content I can. And usually one of the quickest ways for me to figure out if I am or not is how people are watching the content. And I have noticed that for the last couple of weeks, the content that I've been putting out has gotten less and less views. Now, to a certain extent, again, I could say that that's part of the offseason, but with the draft ramping up and having gone through free agency, I would have thought that the views and the viewership would have started to rebound. So that's why I put out the post I did yesterday, because I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what's the best way to, get you guys to want to watch the content. Because I understand that, sometimes you're not going to be able to because you're working or you got something else going on. I get that. I understand that. We're human. But at the same time, I'm also trying to figure out how can I get new viewership in? What can I possibly do to make sure that I can not only appeal to my already fan base, but to everybody else? Because I understand that there's a lot of people out there right now that are tired of going on Facebook, going onto YouTube, and there's all these clickbait news articles and thumbnail images. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure you guys know what you're getting into to the most part that I can, but yet still entice you guys to watch. That's part of the struggle as a podcaster is like, okay, how do I entice you all to watch this without it being absolutely total outlandish? But for me, there was a comment that came up yesterday when I was taking a look at the post comments. And this definitely, I don't know if it's true 100% or not, but it definitely got me thinking. I'll put the post up here so that way you guys can read it. But the basic premise of the post is that the person told me that he doesn't watch my content, but he heard from other people on other social media platforms and other YouTube video places that part of the reason that people stopped watching me, or why he thinks my viewership might have gone down, is because of a video that I made where I said that Nate Sudfeld was going to be the number 2 QB in training camp ahead of Hendon Hooker. And I'm going to just do this right now. I'm going to put the link to that episode right back up at the top. You guys can go back and watch that episode, and you guys can check what I'm exactly about to say here. Because what I'm about to say is 100% truth. What I said is that to start training camp, I believe he will be, because Nate Sudfeld has been there the last couple of years. He knows the playbook better. But I also said it because the Lions do not believe in handing anything to anybody. You have to earn it. So since Nate Sudfeld has been there longer, he is going to get the first crack to win the number 2 job. But I also said that I believe Hendon Hooker is much more talented than Nate Sudfeld, and I believe that by the end of training camp, he was going to be the number 2 QB because that was what he was drafted for. I never ever once said that Nate Sudfeld was going to be the number 2 quarterback and that Hendon Hooker never had a chance. That is not at all what I said. So part of the reason I'm saying this is to, 1, set the record straight, but also 2, to be like, listen, whether or not this is 100% true, I don't know. But what I'm trying to point across is I understand that for me as a podcaster, ever since I started doing this 3 years ago, I understand I'm very passionate about my beliefs. I understand that I can sometimes be pushy, aggressive even. But the reason why is, as I stated, I am 100% authentic and passionate about what I believe. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that if I'm wrong, I'm not going to admit when I'm wrong. Because that has happened. When I've been wrong, I will admit to where I have been at fault. But when somebody wants to tell me that people have this misconception about something I said, that bothers me. Not necessarily because, hey, I'm upset because how dare you do that. I'm upset because that means I didn't do a good enough job explaining the position. That means I didn't do a good enough job to where you understood what I was trying to say. I'm not saying that Hendon Hooker is a bad quarterback. In fact, I believe he's a good quarterback. What I've been saying about Hendon Hooker is that, listen, as long as Jared Goff is here, Hendon Hooker's not going to see the field as a player, as a starter anytime soon, because the Lions have shown that they're fully committed to him. And as far as I'm concerned, there's been nothing contrary to what I have said that would indicate otherwise. My whole point is this, to end this, full disclosure episode. I'm here to let you know that, and I'm trying to find the right way to put this, because I know words have meaning. It is hard to be a podcaster when things are under the best of circumstances. It's even more difficult when things are under the worst of circumstances. But I always try my best to accommodate everybody. I try my best to do the best job I can for serving my country, my job. Because one, as a man, it is my job to not only provide for my family, but I also want to make sure that I'm doing my job the best way I can, number one. Number two, I also want to make sure I'm doing the best I can for my family as far as emotional needs, as far as anything else I can do. And I'll tell you this right now, when the only way you can communicate with them is through call or text, yeah, that's hard. Because sometimes, you just wish you were there and you could hold them. You could love on them. And then, obviously, with my personal image problems, it's hard to, sometimes get in front of a camera before you start recording and you're like, man, this ain't exactly where I wished I was, but you know what? Can't worry about that. You just got to take it one day at a time. My whole point is this. I don't know if anybody else in the YouTube community for the Lions has done this. And I'm not trying to copy or emulate, get sympathy or whatever. But what I'm trying to do is tell you once again that when you watch me, you watch my content, you tune into this channel, you are going to get nothing but the 100% total truth from me. It might be biased with my opinion. I am human after all. But never once am I going to try to hide who I am or what I believe in. And when I have people that are asking if everything's all right, I believe it is my job as a podcaster to let you know, hey, so long as we're not getting into things that, I shouldn't necessarily tell everybody, but so long as that way you guys know what's going on with me, you guys understand where I'm coming from. Because I want to be a person of high integrity to everybody. I don't like liars, and I don't like people that like to twist words or put words in my mouth. So for me, it's like the best way I can do that is being 100% total, upfront, and honest with y'all. So the best thing I'm going to say about this is this. Please do not take this as me trying to garner sympathy, and please do not take this in a way other than what is it intended for. Trying to be 100% open and honest with you, the fans, and trying to make sure you guys know that everything is fine with me and that I am trying my best every single day to work through my problems while at the same time providing you guys the content that I've told you I was going to provide. So, having put that out there, I'm going to end this segment. And I just want to say to everybody, thank you all for watching yet another episode. I hope y'all, take this episode in the light, in the spirit that it is intended. I hope y'all are having a good day. I hope y'all have something that makes you happy and makes you smile. And I just want to say to everybody, God bless. Until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.